Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I'm excited to be bringing you my Week 2 battle from the Pokemon Premier League Division 1 Season 3, yes indeed. Now, as you may know, today we are going up against Slyroh and the Pittsburgh Pyroar. His links, along with links to the PPL Twitter and YouTube, they'll be down there in the description below. Make sure you do go and check them out. And I'll sort of talk a little bit about Slyroh's links in a bit. Links also down in the description to my team building analysis video if you want to see the thought process of me going into this battle, the reason I made the decisions I did with team building. You can check out that video. It's all explained in great detail. Now, you will notice that much as with a few games last season, we are on Showdown. We had a lot of problems getting a battle on Wi-Fi. We actually tried twice and got disconnected both times. So we opted, we'll go on Showdown. There is a list of sort of rules and regulations, very nicely and thankfully put together by Ryquin, concerning PPL rules and everything, and it also includes what happens if you can't battle over Wi-Fi. So, what the rules are is you can go into Showdown. That's the ideal scenario, as long as you are sort of modded by one of the mods of the PPL, of which there are 5. Ironically enough, myself and Slyroh are 2 of them. So we had to have some other people. So we had Eric, Ashton, Akai. He was in the battle. Ryquin came in a little bit later, as did I think Monotui. Just to sort of mod things, make sure everything went as it should. So this battle, we decided not to just have a completely new battle on Showdown. What we tried to do was recreate the circumstances and situations of our previous 2 attempts at a battle to make it as fair as possible. Which is why in the first 20 odd turns of this, you're going to see some weird plays, because we were just trying to make it as similar as possible to the original battle. Now, if you want to see what happened in that original battle, I really do recommend going over to Slyroh's channel and checking out his side of things, because he does live comms, so he has recordings of all the things that actually happened on Wi-Fi. So if you want to know in full detail what happened, I'll be trying to explain it here as we go over the first however many turns, but if you want to see exactly what happened, I really do recommend going over to Slyroh's channel and checking out his side of the battle so you can see in full detail everything that happened. But of course, you should head over there anyway. It's Slyroh. He's a good friend of mine. He's got some fantastic content. He's a great battler, so head over there and check him out. But without any sort of further preamble, actually there will be as I go over the teams, we're going to take a look at the team lineup. As you can see, I brought Spec Sylveon, Mega-Scizor, already Mega'd, we'll go over that why in a little bit. Physically defensive Rocky Helmet Jellicent, Assault Vest physical Tornadus, we've got a physically defensive Crocodile, and Speed F Knockdown. Now, my opponent, Slyroh, he decided to bring Arcanine, Lantern, Bronzong, Roserade, Hitmontop, and Hydreigon. So a lot of things I was expecting to see. Those first 4, I assumed were coming. Hitmontop and Hydreigon, I did not think I would see. They don't have a great matchup against Sylveon. Hydreigon gets coverage in the form of Flash Cannon, which I therefore assumed he would have. But it's, I have massive natural special bulk and it's unstabbed, so I'll probably tank a hit, and I can OHKO in with a Hyper Voice. And also, Hitmontop is not going to appreciate taking that either. So, whenever those 2 are in and I can get Sylveon in, I can really start putting pressure on his team. So I was quite happy to see them. No Weavile was nice, I guess. Similar kind of thing with no Mega Altaria. And not seeing Cofagrigus was also quite nice, because that thing is a pain to take down. So, looking at the lead off, I saw Arcanine as a potential lead. I think in the battle what I wanted to do was lead with Tornadus, and that's what I did. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into this kind of side of the battle, and we're going to see exactly how things played out in the early game. And as I say, I'll try and explain what happened in the actual first couple of attempts we had, just to show you why we did what we did. So here we go. So I do lead off with Knockdown here, as he leads with the Arcanine. Now this is to allow him to burn me. In the actual battle, I took a Sludge Bomb from Roserade and got poisoned. So we didn't want to, we couldn't easily recreate that, so we went with a burn instead. It has the same amount of 1/8 racking up of damage, so we allow that to happen. Knockdown's burn, not a big deal, I'm not packing any physical attacks. So next up, he's going to go into Lantern, as I'm going to go into my Tornadus. Now this is to allow me to get the damage onto Lantern that we did get. That was 1 knockoff and 1 U-turn. So that's what I'm going to do as he goes for heal bells, so I can get that damage on him like we had. Now I'm going to U-turn into my Crocodile as he just goes for another heal bell just for GP, just to allow that to happen. Now I knocked off a lot of items in the first couple of battles. We're going to see that happen now as he goes into Hitmontop. I am going to go for the knockoff with my Crook, just to get rid of the leftovers on this guy right here, the Hitmontop. Now I go into Jellicent. I go into Jellicent as he goes into Roserade. Now, I was using Jellicent against Arcanine in the battle, but I did take too much damage, and Jellicent did go down against it, which is bad. So we're going to use Roserade just to get some hits on me, get a couple of Life Orb hits, which it did take. Down goes Jellicent, and that was a problem for me in the battle. Now I go into Mega-Scizor. I'm already Mega'd up because I did get my Mega off in battle, but I didn't want to cause too much damage to him by doing so. So I started off with a Mega and then I doubled into Sylveon. This is to allow me to get the damage onto Bronzong that I achieved in battle, which is why he's going to go for Rocks twice, and I'm going to go for Hyper Voice. Now this is the point where the first battle cut out. So from here, we are now going to try and recreate the events of the second battle up until that DC. So what that means is I'm going to go into my Tornadus to take some Rocks damage, and he's going to double out, as we see, into his Lantern. This is to allow me to get it to about 15%. So I go for a knockoff first time as he goes for Heal Bell, and next I'm going to go for the Aerial Ace, resisted hit, to take him down to 14%, which is around where he was. It might have been around sort of 15 to 20, so he's a little bit lower. So here, I'm going to go into my Crocodile, as I believe he's going to pull the switch of his own, and go into the Arcanine. Now here, this actually happened, this exchange. He goes for Willow as I go for Taunt. I'm not running enough speed to speed creep a defensive Arcanine, which was a huge oversight on my part. Massive oversight, I should not have done that. So now in comes the Hydreigon as I go for a knockoff. Again, I did get rid of its Wise Glasses in battle. And now what's going to happen is he's going to switch out. He's going to go into his Lantern as I go into my Knockdown. Again, this matchup also happened. I could have taken the opportunity to take him out with Knockdown and get it a KO, but at the time I saw Defog as being more important, because I didn't know when I'd get another chance, especially if I took out this guy. So I'm going to Defog as he goes for the Volt Switch, and he's going to go into Arcanine. At this point in battle I had nothing that wanted to take the hit, so I kind of just let Knockdown go down. So he goes for Flare Blitz, down goes Knockdown, Arcanine notches itself another KO, and now I believe this is where we restart. So at this point in time, this is where we cut out last time. So I go into Crocodile. As I say, this is where the battle restarts, and this is where it's essentially a new battle. At this point I am 6-4 down. We are looking in a horrible position, because he's still got this Arcanine at basically full health, and my ways of dealing with this thing are rapidly running out. Jellicent is gone. That was my primary way of dealing with this Arcanine. Crocodile is burnt and outsped. That was my secondary way of dealing with the Arcanine. So, you know, much as I'm going to fight until the very end of every single battle to try and get a win, in my mind already, about 50% of me is thinking, this battle's over. I can't win this. I can't beat the Arcanine. So that is going to be a kind of running theme as we get back into the battle. He's going to switch out. He's going to go into his Hitmontop. That seems to be his best play overall. I am just going to get up Rocks. I need to keep that pressure on. And once again, whenever Rocks are up and this Hitmontop is in, I can go into this guy, Sylveon right here, and start really pressuring him. He's going to go for the spin, of course he is. And now he's going to go into the Lantern just to sack it off as I go for Hidden Power Ground, which is kind of important. So he goes into Hydreigon, he knows it's HP ground, he knows I'm probably choiced. I'm going to go into my AV Tornadus, expecting him to go for a fire move, predicting my Scizor, which happens I can tank it and pressure him with U-turn. In comes the Arcanine. I get my Defiant boost, but I am U-turning out, you know, I really had to do that. And I U-turn out and I go into my Sylveon, and here I'm going to pause things just as he gets his leftovers back. Now, I make a play here. In my mind, I had just shown Slyroh Hidden Power Ground. And I'm thinking, he's not staying in. He knows I'm going for Hidden Power Ground. He's got to go into Hydreigon. Surely he goes into Hydreigon. As you can see here, he doesn't. He just goes for Flare Blitz, gets massive damage, and I go for the Hyper Voice. Now in reality, Hidden Power Ground wouldn't have done much more, but it would have pressured him a bit more to keep attacking, and not necessarily stay in and Morning Sun, which is what he's going to do. As I switch into Crook and get the Intimidate, he is going to Morning Sun to keep this thing at really good health. And I'm just getting so frustrated with this thing, because I can't take it out, there's nothing I can do. So he's going to pull the switch, he's going to go into his Hydreigon once again, as I just go for the Earthquake. I couldn't take any risk with this. But here, I am going to stay in, pseudo-sacking this thing. He does go for the Flamethrower, a bit of an over-prediction. I live it, of course, I have max HP, and I go for Stealth Rock. So they're up again at the very least. But I'm running out of times to get my Stealth Rocks up and keep them up. So he goes into Hitmontop, as for whatever reason I go for Taunt. I don't know why I went for Taunt, potentially expecting the Bronzong. But what I should have done was doubled into Sylveon straight away. I do that, no I don't, I go into Tornadus as he goes for the Rapid thing, because once again, I can pressure this thing with a stab hit. Now he's going to switch out and go into Roserade as a sacking job, as I go for the Aerial Ace, and I do take out the Roserade, which at the very least is nice. But once again, it means he can just bring in this Arcanine, and I get the Defiant boost, and this is the point where I think I just have to go for something and get damage. I go for Knockoff, get rid of Leftovers, he does take me out with the Flare Blitz, another KO, a third KO for this goddamn Arcanine, and once again, there's nothing I can do to it. I have a burned Crocodile who he outspeeds. He goes for Morning Sun, he gets himself to good health. I go for Earthquake, I do score a crit here. But what he can do is just keep wearing me down with my own burn and just keep healing himself up. That's exactly what he's going to do here. He has no reason not to. My Earthquakes aren't doing over half. If I outsped him, this would be such a different story. But here I'm going to switch out. I'm going to go into Sylveon for whatever reason. As he goes for Morning Sun again. I should have just kept putting the pressure on, but I don't. So he's going to switch out, he's going to go into Bronzong as I pull a switch into Crook. I guess he was sacking this thing, I could have tried to take it out. But I don't. Once again I switch into Crook, I sack it to burn. And now I've just got 2 mons left. I'll go into Mega-Scizor, he's got to switch into this, it's his Arcanine. He gets the Intimidate. I do go for Swords Dance predicting that, because I know I outspeed, I just need to try and desperately get some damage and hope he takes himself out to Recall with Flare Blitz. Does he? No he doesn't, because I don't have a lot of HP investment, so down goes Mega-Sciz, and he's still alive. Sylveon is not taking this hit. He's going to go for Flare Blitz, he's going to take me out, he's going to take himself out to Recall, so at the very least, Arcanine went down, but that is going to be the game. So, what do we say about that? A 3-0 win for Slyroh, very well played on his part, very well prepped. We didn't prep well enough, we didn't play well enough, I didn't save my sort of contingency conditions well enough at all. This was just an absolute car crash of a game. Anything that could have gone wrong did. But that's not to take anything away from Slyroh. He played a good game. He brought the optimum sets. That Arcanine was just a problem that I didn't deal with. I didn't deal with it well enough, and I have to take full responsibility for that. So, what it means is, we go into week 3 at 1-1, which is our worst record for the first 2 games of a league. Since previously we've always won our first 2, but we lose this one to Slyroh, but that's okay, Everyone has these games where things just don't go right, you don't do what you should have done to win, and you end up losing as a result of it. Everyone has those games. This one was ours early on in the season, but thankfully it is just that, early on in the season, and anything can happen from here on out. We've still got 9 weeks to go. This isn't going to be too debilitating. We're going to get right back on that horse. Slyroh himself, he's looking good. He's taken 2 wins, I think, now. What we can say is that we do have a positive differential, at the very least. We have a differential of +1 after those 2 games, and it just means we need to go back into week 3 with a really strong performance. Now, that's going to be interesting, because our next game is against none other than Franktrode and FC Volcarona. Franktrode is one of my great inspirations. He is one of the individuals who basically started me uploading to YouTube. So, always a pleasure to play against him. He's a lovely guy. But we are going to have to destroy him. Parasect Germain are out for blood now. We've lost early in the season. This is unacceptable. To take nothing away from Slyroh, this is unacceptable. So the next game, losing is not an option. We have to win, we can win, and we will win. So Frank, my friend, we're coming for you. He's got some very powerful mons on his team, but we are going to be able to circumvent them. We are going to be able to take this game. But that is a story for another day. So yeah, I guess there's not really too much to say. Parasect Germain lose their second game. We are 1-1. It's still early days. We're not looking terrible. We're still looking fairly strong. We just need to come back strong next week and get a win, which we will do. But as I say, that is a story for another day. I'm going to get out of here. So thank you all very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. Apologies once again for the nature of this being on a showdown and indeed the late upload. Hopefully, I'm looking to get back into uploading these on the day they should be. Still getting used to my new job and getting timing sorted there. But hopefully we should be good by next week. So I guess I will see you then. Keep your eyes peeled on the channel for more PPL content, and of course don't forget to head down to the description to check out links to the PPL Twitter and YouTube, and of course my opponent Slyroh. But that's enough rambling. I'm going to get out of here. So my final thank you to you all for watching. Keep supporting Parasect Germain, guys. We are going for the top. But with that, I guess I'll see you next time. Laters.